I'm now having to deputise. I'm deputising for Derek Osborne, who sadly couldn't come because he has a problem at home. So I'm going to have to stand in for Robin Lansfield with regard to the update on land quality. Does the slide come up? It's there. That's it. So that's a statement of what's the Land Quality Committee, the Policy Committee, are doing. We have this policy of brownfield land first, and we consider that very important. But of course, you'll be aware that this isn't happening all the time. There's lots of developments with greenfield rather than brownfield, and we are represented. So Robin Lansfield, who's the chair of that policy committee, he's an associate director of contaminated land with Jacobs Engineering, so very powerful position. And we also we're represented on the National Brownfield Forum discussion with consultants, with the government. And one of the points came from the recent meeting was that DEFRA's soil team is growing with the new appointment of Graham Duggan to work with Harriet Cooper and Rachel Boulderstone at DEFRA. And then an interesting thing for those chemists among you, PFAS, that's polyfluoryl alkyl substances, that is becoming an issue, particularly leaching out from landfills. And you'll be aware that these are man-made substances. They call them forever substances because once they're in the environment, it's very difficult to get rid of them. They're used in Teflon, non-stick cookware, firefighting foams, all sorts of things. And because of that reason, the Environment Agency have got a PFAS project, and the Environment Agency is soon to publish evidence paper on PFAS describing known data on prevalence and application of data sets. There is a plan to test leachate from closed landfills, and the data will be available via the Environment Agency's Data Water Quality Data Archive landing page. So that's that quick comment there. Last year, we launched the guidance for promotion. Well, it's the redevelopment of garages at forecourts. People will think, perhaps in the future, but people look in the future and think petrol's all going to go, so all of these garages are going to close down. I don't think that's going to happen. It's going to be a long time, probably not in my lifetime, but that was important because that was arose from a fatality, and we produced this valuable document. Again, it's offered for free, and we want you to look at that. And finally, a quick update on old landfills. We're in discussion with both Silk, DEFRA and the Environment Agency, because there is a problem now with coastal erosion. This is a problem it's an issue that is on the radar of all local authorities, and a lot of remedial work has been undertaken on coastal landfills. But there now is a problem because we understand that up until recently, the reuse of old landfills would have been progressed under the CLARE definition of waste code of practice. And in short, to reuse a material, it needs to be suitable for the planned use, and there needs to be a genuine use for the material. And of late, the agency is steering towards waste recovery plans, which require a permit. And in essence, whilst waste recovery plans are a more regulated approach, you're still required to show there is a need and that the material is suitable for planned use. So this is an ongoing discussion, and it seems to be a problem because for coastal landfills, particularly the historical ones, it's not viable to excavate them and move it. It has an impact on the carbon footprint. It's very expensive, in some cases too expensive. So we are in consultation with both through Silk. Silk have raised the issue, and the Environment Agency and DEFRA and Claire, because we need to have a new look at the regulation of that to allow more flexibility. So that's all I'd like to say about land quality. I'm sorry it's quick, but it's brief and to the point. Sarah, I think you're the next one.
Hi there, you can see me again. I'm going to be very, could you go back to, yeah, just stay on that one for a little while. The Air Quality Committee, we've actually been entirely online, but we've had quite a lot of meetings. We used to have 3-hour meetings in London. Now we have 1.5-hour meetings online every 6 to 8 weeks. And then we all need to go and lie down in a darkened room because they're pretty intense, but extremely productive. And still a lot of fun. So the Air Quality Committee is still going strong. We've got 3 priorities this year. One is environmental legislation. Obviously, the Environment Bill has been a big piece of work for us over the last 2 years. And we've been working closely with Larry Whitty and other colleagues on that one. We're also looking, you're probably aware, we had our 12 asks for government for what we wanted in environmental legislation. We're now looking at, did we get them? If we did, are they going to be effectively implemented? And if we didn't get them, what do we need to do? Because I think we all agree that even with past legislation, having the legal levers there isn't necessarily enough on its own. So we're looking at kind of implementation as well now, as of the passing of the Environment Bill. I've already talked about the air quality and climate change piece of work we're working on. Do get in touch if you'd like to know more. And the third element is our continued promotion of our planning guidance, which we produce jointly with the Institute of Air Quality Management. And planning is still a big issue for us. We'll be looking at the London Plan Air Quality Positive consultation that's just come out, and various other things. We're not particularly London centric. It's just, so we look at things when they're innovative and when they're kind of developing something really new and something we might want to get behind. So they're kind of the 3 overarching areas of work. We've obviously got a whole bunch of other stuff that's going on. Ultrafine particulates are of particular interest. Indoor air quality, we've just been hearing a lot about that. And also exposure. I think, as I said earlier, public health is really driving a lot of our work. It's why we do this, both kind of direct public health impacts from air pollution, but also climate change and other things. And I think we've been trying to build it a little bit more in about environmental inequality and environmental justice. So that's been interesting. In terms of working, how we're working, we're trying to work with the other committees. So we've got the noise people have already commented on our air quality and climate change bit to link in other things. We're working still with a Healthy Air campaign, which brings together a lot of charities, which we founded, but is now managed by Client Earth. We've been doing quite a lot of work with the Clean Air Champions. Stephen Holgate, we'll hear from later, Gary Fuller and others. We've been involved in the CIS-RISK project, which I know those of you who were in here recently will have heard about. And also the Air Quality Hub. So I will leave it there. Do come and talk to me afterwards if you've got any questions, or get in touch via the Secretariat email, and I shall pass over to Robin. And thanks to everyone who's been on the Air Quality Committee for all your hard work.
The book's large, but my notes are quite short. Thanks everyone for attending, and like everybody said, it's great to actually be in a room with other people. Like most of our other committees, we have met, but they've all been virtual. But we did very recently actually have an excellent meeting, and that included the colleagues, some of the colleagues from DEFRA Noise, and it's really good to hear from them, and your note from some of our priorities for the next or for this year involve actually making sure that noise is actually out there and being discussed. So starting with that promotion of noise awareness, you know, as we've said, like noise second only to air quality for health and things like that, and whatever that means. But what it means is it's going to creep up the agenda, hopefully, and we need to be ready for that. So what I'd say on that is also there's a quality of life issue, and of course there's a lot of as a local authority officer, is my background, I should have said that, but as a local authority officer, what we hear about is not about health, but we hear about, I'm cross about this or I'm cross about that. Why is this happening? Why am I being woken up at night? Now, behind all that, there is a health issue there, but obviously there's a quality of life one as well. And so we need to consider that in how we develop policy. We have tensions, particularly if you're in a large city where you've got a lot of work to be done, a lot of construction, a lot of redevelopment, we've got transport noise, you've got entertainment, and it's like, how do you balance all those off? And that's all balanced off through government policy in effect. And so we really do need to make sure we engage with DEFRA and others to ensure that the policies going forward actually ensure that noise is properly considered. Now, we've heard today from our colleagues in DEFRA that they're onto that, and they're onto that on their agenda, so that's very helpful. One of the particular things we do for awareness is Noise Action Week. We did it this year just gone. It was affected obviously by COVID and ended up being an online event. We're already looking at Noise Action Week for 2022, which we will be developing over the next couple of months, and with the expectation and hope that will be bigger and better. If anybody's got any ideas, anybody's got any things that they want doing, then contact me through there. And that's true about anybody who wants to get involved with any of the noise stuff. Please just contact us and we can get involved. So the second thing is engaging with government. So we've talked all about policy. Well, the way you influence policy is by talking to the relevant people. We have quite a lot of things going on. DEFRA has explained about their work through next year, which is both heartening and but obviously there's a lot of work to be involved there, and there's also all the work on planning that we need to get involved with. We have all the heat source pump issues to work on, so there's noise issues in relation to those, particularly in urban areas. So we'll be there pushing for raising noise at all those matters. And finally, for our own advice and notes, you know, I'm aware that some of those there's been changes in policy and direction a little, and so I'll undertake to ensure that they're rewritten for over the course of this, so when you come and see us again next year, there'll be new documents. I'm going to wish I hadn't said that in public, but I dare say Chris will remind me on a weekly basis now until it's done. So so that's really what we'd like to push on there. And as I said, we'll welcome any comments and wishes, particularly about guidance notes as well. And we'll look towards fulfilling any wishes that are widely needed. So that's my lot for the year. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Could we invite any comments about the Environment Bill, which was outlined by Lord Whitty, or questions?
Thank you. Yeah, I'm from the University of Birmingham. I don't know, do you cover as Environmental Protection UK water, the fresh water and pollution, water pollution, because obviously there's loads of issues with water companies at the moment. And how do you approach that sort of thing? Because that's not being addressed at the moment. Thank you.
Yes, the simple answer to that is no, we don't at the moment, but it has been raised because the Land Quality Committee, while it looks at a whole range of things, has been asked to look at waste as well, which is almost a separate subject in itself. But one of our new trustees made a comment about whether in fact we're looking at water. So that is really on our agenda to consider it, because it is part of the other elements of the environment. And so it's a good point made.
Yes, thanks for the question again. But the original focus of EPUK was on the delegated areas for local authorities, which were air, noise, and of course land quality. But as the chairman has said, we do need now to think again about the scope of what we do in the light of the new duties that local authorities have either been given or have accepted, for example, for health and well-being. And that does reshape rather our agenda. So I think the answer is watch this space.
Just to remark, Chair, that we should not lose sight of the fact that of all the compartments of the environment, water quality is the one probably that has been deteriorating over the last few decades, which is really a very sad commentary. And it is, as others have remarked, one where civic engagement, civil society engagement is pretty thin. So there are important factors, I think, to weigh there.
Hello. Yes, I just wanted to mention this subject because before the lockdown, I was a riverfly monitor, and I've been working with the Revolution Trust, trying to improve the water quality of the Don Valley, which had in fact improved a great deal, and salmon were coming up the Don to Sheffield, and we actually had a salmon leap there. Now, obviously this flooding business and the amount of sewage which has ended up in the waterways has been of considerable concern in the Don Valley, which includes Wakefield, where I live. And I've already contacted the local council to try and persuade them to do more with Yorkshire Water about sewage, particularly because I think that methane could be collected from sewage, and it would be helpful to do that. And so, yeah, I think we could all, you know, the other councils and people, we could probably help them out. And probably if we got in touch with the Riverfly Trust, then they would be helpful to us.
Thanks. On handing the microphone back, I'm going to ask a question. This is one for Larry, really, or if anyone else has any insight. Now the Environment Bill is done, I've heard rumours about all sorts of other things, so planning, legislation, a new air quality strategy, a new local air quality management framework. Can you give us any insight on firstly, what is coming and when it's coming, and secondly, where you think there's the most opportunity and the most appetite for improvements?
Yeah. Let's get more of these. On the air quality strategy, the government, the DEFRA will be now focused on that now the Environment Bill has gone through. And I expect them to prioritise it. How good it will be, I mean, we have yet to see. But I think that might well be a good focus for EPUK in the coming months. On the planning reform, they seem to have marched up to the top of the hill and back down again, the government. When Robert Jenrick was the Secretary of State, he was very keen on a reform of planning procedures. I think Michael Gove has been a bit more, if you like, balanced, but he is still thinking about it. And I think with the climate change carbon reduction issue, we need to look at that as to how that fits in with planning procedures. I was thinking it when one or two of our speakers were talking this morning, that actually building in carbon requirements to the planning procedure is very limited and not at all standard across local authorities. And I think we need really to focus on that. But I think that's probably going to be a few months before it reappears as a proposition from the government.
I just wanted to make one comment, which is if you haven't already seen the excellent 45-point summary of the Environment Act that ENDS have produced, I would thoroughly recommend using that as your aid memoir.